Okay, get ready for this. What if almost everything we thought we knew about what causes Alzheimer's disease was just wrong? A massive 10-year study just dropped from Harvard Medical School, published in the journal Nature, and folks, it is suggesting exactly that. It's pointing to a discovery that could honestly change everything. And it all really comes down to this one, almost unbelievable question. Could a cheap, super common supplement, something you can find online for like $10, not just slow down, but actually reverse the damage of Alzheimer's? It sounds like a wild claim, but this isn't just hype. It's being raised by some very serious new research. So you're probably asking, how in the world is that even possible? Well, to get it, we need to dive into a totally new theory for what's actually driving Alzheimer's. The researchers are calling it the lithium sponge theory. For decades, right, the #1 villain in the Alzheimer's story has been these sticky things called amyloid plaques. The idea was pretty simple. The plaques build up, and the plaques themselves kill brain cells. But this new hypothesis from Harvard, it flips that whole idea on its head. It suggests the plaques aren't the murderers. They're more like kidnappers. They cause a nutritional deficiency, a lack of lithium, and that's the real killer. Okay, so here's how this sponge ideal works. It turns out our brains need lithium. It's an essential nutrient, just like iron or vitamin D. Now, according to this new theory, those amyloid plaques, they act like, well, sponges. They just soak up all the available lithium in the brain, hoarding it for themselves. This means the brain cells get starved of a nutrient they desperately need, and that's what leads to the damage and the memory loss. See the difference? The plaque isn't the weapon, it's the cage that's locking away something vital. So if the plaques are sponges, how do you get this vital nutrient past them? This is where a very specific compound comes into the picture. It's called lithium orotate, or LO for short. What the researchers found is that this particular form of lithium seems to have this special ability to kind of sneak by the sponges. It doesn't get trapped as easily, which allows it to actually reach the starving brain cells that need it. Okay, so the theory is fascinating, right? But does it actually do anything? Well, the results they saw in the animal studies are, there's no other word for it. They're astonishing. Just look at this number. 70%. In mice that were literally engineered to get Alzheimer's, giving them this lithium orotate led to a 70% reduction in those amyloid plaques. And in some of the really advanced cases, the plaques were almost completely gone. That's a huge, huge number. And it wasn't just about cleaning up the gunk in the brain. The mice actually got better. The lead researcher, Dr. Bruce Yankner from Harvard, he put it perfectly. He said it's like turning back the clock. The mice actually regained lost memories and their ability to learn. This suggests it's not just about stopping the disease in its tracks, but maybe, just maybe, reversing some of the damage. And if all that wasn't mind-blowing enough, look at the dose they used. You see, lithium is already used in medicine for things like bipolar disorder, but it requires really high, potentially toxic doses. The Harvard team saw these incredible effects with a microdose of lithium orotate. We're talking 1/1000th of the normal amount. That's huge because it means a potential treatment could be much, much safer. All right, let's all just take a breath for a second. Whenever you hear about a discovery this big, it's totally natural to feel that mix of incredible hope and, a little bit of skepticism. Anything that sounds too good to be true needs a hard look. So let's talk about the hope, the hype, and the history here. This is the question, isn't it? It's on everyone's mind. Is this too good to be true? We've all seen headlines about miracle cures that just fizzle out. And in science, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. The sources we looked at even brought up the famous stem cell scandal from back in 2014, where this huge finding in Nature turned out to be a complete fraud. But this is where the context really, really matters. The STAP cell thing, that was a short experiment, and the data was just made up. This Harvard lithium study, on the other hand, we're talking about a decade of slow, careful work from one of the best institutions on the planet, with data that's been checked and double-checked. So while you should always be cautious, this discovery is standing on much, much firmer ground. And now we've arrived at what is, without a doubt, the single most important slide of this whole explainer.
I really can't say this loudly enough. All of these incredible, jaw-dropping results are from a study on mice. What works in mice, unfortunately, doesn't always work in people. That is the hard, non-negotiable reality we have to keep in mind.
So what happens now? A breakthrough in a lab is one thing. A treatment that you and I can access is something else entirely. This is just the start of a very long journey. Let's take a look at the road ahead. This is pretty much the standard path for any new drug. The researchers are hoping they can start phase 1 trials sometime in 2026, and that's just to test if it's safe in humans. Then comes phase 2 to see if it even works. And then you have massive, multi-year phase 3 trials. So even if everything goes absolutely perfectly from here on out, we are still looking at a minimum of 7 to 10 years before this could get FDA approval. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So this brings us to the most crucial point for you right now. The researchers themselves are practically begging people, please, do not go out and start self-medicating with lithium supplements. The stuff you buy online is totally unregulated. You have no idea what the real dose is or how pure it is. Lithium, even this special linimono, can be toxic if you're not supervised by a doctor. The only smart, safe, responsible thing to do is wait. Wait for the human trials. And if you have health concerns, talk to your doctor. So here we are. We have a potentially game-changing new way to think about Alzheimer's and a really promising new target for a treatment. It's a moment of huge scientific excitement and, a ton of hope. The first pages of a brand new chapter in this fight have just been written. The big question for all of us now is, how is this story going to end? Only time and a lot more careful science is going to tell us that.